When you go on your very first bicycle tour, you are bound to make mistakes. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 mistakes that I personally made as a new bicycle tourist. Hi there, I'm Agnieszka. Welcome to Wheels on the Bike. In 2020, I went on 2 self-supported solo bicycle tours, and I made some mistakes along the way. Some were small, some were big that unfortunately led to an injury. So if you'd like to learn from my mistakes, then let's get to it. The first mistake I made was not test riding my fully loaded bike. Had I done that, I would have quickly found out that my rear rack was a bit too high, which placed the pannies really high up on the bike and made the bike a little bit unstable. I would have also found out on that test ride that my bike was a bit back heavy. I could have done a better job of distributing the weight on the bike. So what did I learn from that mistake? Certainly, always do a test ride with a fully loaded bike. Secondly, I recently purchased a front rack and some front panniers, and I will be doing a much better job next time in distributing the weight on my bicycle. Not having ridden my bike prior to going on tour made my day one experience pretty stressful. Additionally, I ended up planning this really long day for myself, and that was my second mistake, planning days that were way too long. My first day of bicycle touring, I had 96 kilometers to cover, and while 96 kilometers may not sound like a lot, it was way too much for me on day one, because that meant that I didn't give my body time to acclimatize to the physical effort it takes to ride a fully loaded bike. Additionally, on that day one, I ran into mechanical issues, which took some time to resolve. I was riding in a heat wave, and I was riding a bike that I wasn't comfortable handling. So unfortunately for me, I didn't learn the lesson of not planning these long days in the saddle until my second tour, where I ended up getting injured. On my second tour, in addition to planning really long distances in the saddle, I completely disregarded elevation profile or elevation data that was available to me, and that was my third mistake, not paying attention to data outside of distances covered. I plan my routes with Ride with GPS, and there's a lot of information offered when I plan a route, including elevation profiles, including the type of terrain I'm going to be riding on. So lessons learned for me based on that mistake: pay attention to the terrain, pay attention to the elevation profiles, pay attention to the type of surface I'm going to be riding on, and just have a more well-rounded approach to route planning. The fourth mistake I made, especially on my second tour, was overestimating my physical readiness. So lesson learned for me from that is just pay attention to what your body is telling me and do a lot of recovery, stretching throughout the day, throughout the ride, not just at night, because that in itself is not going to be sufficient. And I unfortunately came back with an IT band injury that I'm still working through to this day. The fifth mistake I made has to do with nutrition. I wasn't eating nearly enough food to compensate for the physical effort. As well, I had changed my diet pretty drastically, and I introduced a lot more carbs, a lot more protein, but I didn't introduce them gradually. I made a pretty drastic shift, so my body didn't like that experience. Additionally, I was eating a lot of protein bars, and all in all, my nutrition wasn't optimal. So at this point, you may be thinking to yourself, oh gosh, she made all these mistakes. Did she even have fun on tour? And yes, I'm here to say that yes, I did. Even though I made all these mistakes, I had a great experience on my bicycle tours, and the mistakes that I did make are going to help me just be a better bicycle tourist next time I go on tour. If you made it to this point, thanks so much for watching. Please let me know if you've been on a bicycle tour. Let me know what mistakes you have made. If you found this video of value, give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, then give this video a thumbs down. Comment, like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.